First thing I suggest is that you cut all along this plastic pack to open up it all, and then take all the components out and rest them on top of the bag next to their corresponding letter. And have an electrostatic brush to keep rubbing all the staticky electricity, little pieces of dust and little pieces of styrofoam as you're working on this that cling to it. Be careful not to confuse or mix up your B's and your C's, because on one side they look identical, but on the other side they don't. The B has a very rectangular cutout opening. The C has a different kind of opening. Little triangle there, little triangle there, with a weird open shaped space between it. You have to separate S and T. Pull it out. And then after you pull it out, there's this little lever here. Push the lever down, and it comes out. This lever, you push it down. Okay, for orientation, this is the tab on S. Okay, this is S after T has been removed from it. S still has a sliding piece in it. All right, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna put this flat against the board with the sliding piece facing out, not facing toward the board. But you're going to put a screw through this oval one, and you're going to put a screw through this one right before the oval one on this side. So you put a screw, you line it up on the hole, like I did on this one, and you put a screw there, and then you have to slide this, and you have to slide this other side until it exposes the hole. Notice the orientation. The little tab is toward this edge thing, and the wheel is not toward the edge thing. And the wheel side, look where it is and compare it to those. When you get this screw in, don't put it in all the way, because you need this to have a little bit of give. Because to find this hole over here, you need to do two things. You need to slide the slider to reveal the hole, and you need to push this other piece back and forth to get it to line up. So let's see, there's the hole. Now let's see if I can find it. Ah, there it is. Now I'll screw this screw through here, and it'll clear this, just barely clear the space in the slider. And I'll screw this other one down. So here's what board 2 and what board 3 look like when they're done. Couple of things to remember. Number one, make sure you know which hole to put it in. On the wheel over here, it's the first hole. Make sure you know which holes to put it in. And when you put those screws in, be very careful to put them in straight so that they go flush against the metal. Otherwise, you can have problems with the sliders rubbing against them when the drawer is open. Remember this orientation. The T, the end with a little U-shaped, is the end that'll go in facing the tab. And the T part goes in not this way, but this way later, when it's going to go back into this S part. I find it better to put the dowels into Unit 3 and Unit 2 rather than starting them by putting them in Unit 4, because if you put it in Unit 4, sometimes the dowel goes way too deep. Be very careful. Make sure that this little slot on this piece is where it's shown on this diagram. That slot is used to catch the locking mechanism to lock the top drawer. When doing this step, board 15, again, I put the dowels in the board rather than in the other piece. And notice this edge on piece 15. That edge goes to line up with these edges on the board.
Two of the four wheels have brakes built into them. I recommend making those the front wheels so you can easily access the brakes. In step 7, if after placing board 1 on top of the unit, there is a gap between board 1 and the unit, with a screwdriver, gently turn each piece back and forth just a bit, and the board will fall into place.
Install the lock with the locking mechanism facing up. That's this piece.
The ring that covers the lock has 4 tabs that I'm not sure if one of the tabs is supposed to be bent or if I bent it by accident. I had to unbend that tab to slide the ring on the lock so that the ring was flush against the wood. So I think I accidentally bent that tab the first time I tried to push it onto the lock. Be careful not to make the same mistake that I made.
For step 10, I recommend loosely putting board 14 on and then inserting these bars and then tightening 14. So right now the screws here on 14 are on loosely. There's a gap. It gives me room to put the bar in. Push the bars together and then tighten 14. For this step 11, which has to do with the drawer with 11. On the left side, here's how it goes. Third hole, 1, 2, 3. Middle hole. That's on the left side of the drawer. Notice what the end of the rail looks like at that location and at that location. And on the right side of the drawer, same thing. Third hole, middle hole, tab is at the bottom, open end is at the top. I found it easier to line the rails when putting the drawer in by putting the whole thing on its back. And then I lined the rails into the other rails and gave it a little bit of a push, and it went right in. If at some point you want to pull this drawer out, this is the lever. There's one on each side. On each side you have to push it up.